Now, our next guest penned a true love story between a Kiwi prisoner of war and a Yugoslav resistance fighter in Nazi-occupied Europe. It all starts with a chance encounter when Josephine Lobnick braves Nazi camp guards to pass a scribbled note into the hands of New Zealand soldier Bruce Murray. After a series of unfathomable coincidences, their paths cross again. Eventually, they settled in Wellington and raised a family, but what happened in between is sure to make this tale a bestseller. And here to tell us more about the note through the wire, please welcome author Doug Gold.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Doug. Tell us how you came across this story, because this is kind of a personal family story, isn't it?
Yes, Bruce and Josephine were my wife Anne-Marie's parents, my parents-in-law. So I've learned about this story around the dinner table and got snippets of information, and on the rare occasions that Bruce and Josephine opened up about their war exploits, I learned more, and it was just such an amazing story that I felt it had to be told.
And now you've got this beautiful book. Can you tell us a bit about that first meeting of theirs?
Yes, Josephine Lobnick was a resistance fighter for the Slovene resistance. Bruce Murray was a Kiwi prisoner of war. And they meet by chance, two complete strangers, when she thrusts the note through the wire of the local POW camp, seeking information on her brother Leopold, who's been captured by the Nazis. Bruce is smitten as soon as he sees her.
And how do they come to meet up again? Because, I mean, he's a prisoner of war, right? So how do they cross paths again?
Well, that's one of the amazing coincidences that go right through this story. A year later, not in Slovenia, but miles across the border in Austria, they meet for a second time. Bruce is given a disciplinary transfer to an Austrian POW camp for striking a guard and calling his girlfriend a German whore. At the same time, Josephine is put on a Nazi death list after being betrayed by her best friend, and she's sent by her family to her cousin's farm in Austria for her own safety. Remarkably, Bruce is rostered to work on the very same farm, and they meet for a second time.
That's incredible. I mean, there was no WhatsApp or Tinder or anything, which I know you're a big fan of back then. It must be so hard to keep the flame alive when you're just using letters and notes.
Well, it may well have ended at the POW camp because Bruce didn't know who she was. All he knew was her second name was Lobnick, and he was, as I say, smitten as soon as he saw her.
And it's a love story. Did you...
At its heart, it's a love story.
Right.
But
so there's no steamy bits in there? You didn't have to write any of that up?
Just a little.
Oh, really?
Just a
Was
little.
that awkward? Because this is family, you know?
It was very awkward for my wife to read.
Now, this has got movie written all over it, surely. I mean, it's a bit notebookish. Have you thought about movie rights or anything like that?
Oh, I'd love for it to be a movie at some stage, but my main aim is to get the story out there, and I hope the book has done a good job of that.
Yeah.
How much of it is that you sat down with the two of them and extracted their story, and how much have you kind of had to fill in the blanks about what it might have been like for them?
Mostly filling in the blanks. I got Josephine 20 years ago to reluctantly agree to tell her story, and she was due to visit us in France. That's where we were living at the time, and she'd gone to Slovenia to meet with her family, and she was due to visit us and agreed to record all of her wartime exploits.
Yeah, amazing.
Tragically, she was killed in a car accident 3 days before she was due to visit us, and the story never got recorded. So I had to do an enormous amount of research to find out and fill in the gaps. However, the one thing we did find was a box of letters that had been unopened since World War II. Wow. That documented a lot of what they went through during the war and immediately afterwards. And also, those letters were between Josephine and her siblings, all of whom were in the partisan movement, that record a lot of what happened in Slovenia during World War II.
It'll remind a lot of people of the Tattooists of Auschwitz, and there's actually a quote from that author on the front of this book. You can find it, The Note Through the Wire, is available online and in bookstores now. Please thank author Doug Gold.
Thank you very much.